The clock shows that it is 6:35. I'd like to consider the approval of minutes of the Administration and Legal Committee meeting held on January 14th, 2020. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, so ordered. Number 3, discuss reducing the number of Class A liquor licenses by 1, Tribes Ale House, and reduce the number of Class AV liquor licenses by 1, which is owned by Richie's Pizza Joint. Good. Hannah?
Sure.
Huh? Was.
Yeah. Thanks, Trustee Brady. These are just two minor code amendments, just minor formalities to clean up our code. As you're aware, whenever we award a liquor license or liquor and gaming license to an establishment, we always increase our liquor code by 1 license. With both of these establishments closing, this is just reducing those specific liquor license classifications by 1 to keep the code at the correct levels. So
Okay, so in the future, if someone needs one, we'll
just increase it by 1 again.
increase it by 1
We
again.
don't keep an inventory of.
Liquor licenses.
Correct.
All righty. Do we need
So I
a,
guess I was gonna say, we can motion to move this to the board.
to the board?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to move it to the board?
So moved.
Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. 4, discuss amending Title 9, Chapter 112 of the Tinley Park Municipal Code pertaining to Class K1 liquor classification. Hannah, we're back to you.
Yes, sir. This is a recommendation for a minor amendment to our liquor classification of a Class K1 license. A recent request for a banquet space has prompted review of this specific section of the code. So currently, the way our code works, we have a Class K license, which is more of a true banquet use license. It's for full sit-down dinners of 250 plus people, we have 2 of these licenses issued at this time. We also have a Class K1 license, which is more of a informal use for events and banquets, less than 250 guests. The code currently requires that catering be brought in from the outside. The recent request we do have has prompted us to look specifically at this, as catering wouldn't be coming from the license holder necessarily. So this is just asking to consider allowing catering from outside vendors for liquor classification K1.
Is there a specific caterer that we're looking at for this?
Not to my knowledge. At this time, this space is also going through a special use process, so it's in the works. I don't know the details. I would have to find out more.
Okay.
Is there a reason that you said it was recommended, who's recommending this?
This is coming from the liquor commissioner, from the mayor.
Okay. So he wants to allow outside catering to come into a banquet hall instead of a banquet hall providing their own food?
Correct, yes, for one of the, for a smaller event space, which isn't uncommon in other municipalities. Municipalities handle their liquor code and banquet use spaces differently, so.
So they could just have a room, we'll say.
Correct.
Okay,
Mhm.
and then bring in the caterers.
Right.
Okay.
I would just much rather if we have someone that comes in and wants to do it, I'm not willing to without knowing what businesses it is or the reasons why, I would rather just leave it as is, and if someone wants to, instead of leaving it open-ended, wait until we see if someone wants to, bring food in from the outside. Usually a banquet hall, they make and provide their own stuff from all the ones that I know of or have been to. I don't know many that bring it out just because of health reasons, contamination. They keep everything in-house. They don't know, it's not their people, it's not their kitchen making it. I would just prefer leave it as we have with all our other banquet halls, because we haven't had any problems with any of them, right?
Correct. I mean, right now, we do only have 2 that are Class K licenses, which are true banquet facilities, and then the Class K1, we do only have 1 facility. It's Cavallini's at the Metro Station, so, we don't have very many banquet facilities in town, so this hasn't really come up before, so that's why this request has prompted review of the code.
Well, how about the
Thanks.
situation that a organization, I'm thinking the police department. When I was there graduating from the police academy, they had it catered, okay, by a reputable, I can't remember who it was, but it was good. It might have been Salinas or Portillo's or one of those that catered it. What happens there?
You trying to make me hungry?
No, but,
I think it's different because it's our own facility. It's not, where you had it was at probably the Jogman room, probably, right?
correct.
So it's not a banquet hall. It's,
Right.
that's totally different, and that's once a year, twice a year, whatever it is. This is something that they're gonna do constantly, where it seems like someone, if we're looking to change it, I'm assuming that someone wants to do this, and we're not discussing it yet, so I would rather wait until they come forward.
Okay. I had thought there was, I don't know if I should even say it, but I thought I had heard or read somewhere about someone looking into it.
There will be in an upcoming admin and legal committee,
Okay.
yes.
So I read something somewhere right.
So that's what this is sort of the first step in order to bring that forward. You know, the ask is to amend this code just slightly, so that way we could allow for outside catering, so that way we can bring forward the request on the liquor side of things.
Okay.
And you know, it's also important to consider, like, if they're gonna do outside catering, those catering companies who are doing it should also be licensed by the village. You know, there's certain health and safety standards that the village has with its restaurants and the state standards, so, I mean, that's, if we're gonna amend this portion, we should also look at other portions of our code that relate to businesses serving food in the village. Just, you know, they probably could use local caterers, but if we use someone outside, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up. Our health and safety inspector, she is aware of this. Again, as you mentioned, if it's a food in town, she would be inspecting that kitchen anyways, so
Right.
you would, assume that they are up to par.
And just, not to pick on anybody, but give you an example of Salinas. It's one of our fine caterers and pizza places in our town. And I'm sure they are inspected regularly and checked out and so on and so forth. Okay.
Yeah, and a good example of these are communities that allow food trucks, right? The food truck comes, and the food truck might not be a business in that particular community, so the food truck's got to get licensed because they're outside, and this is a good analogy, like a caterer too, because there could be from anywhere else.
Right.
So if we're gonna do, we should look at the regulations on those caterers themselves too. Right?
So what do you need from us now?
A motion to bring this to the board.
Okay, I'll make a motion to move it to the board. No?
The motion would fail then.
Okay,
Seeing no second, the motion fails, yeah.
motion failed. Okay. Number 5, receive comments from the public. Let the record note that there are no comments from the public. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it, so ordered.
Thanks, Hannah. I'd like to open the Public Works Committee at 6:44. By the way, this is my student Elias. Elias, sorry. You're on camera, smile. He wanted to come to one of our meetings, and I thought this was best for him. Let's see, number 2, I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting held on January 14, 2020.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, receive presentation of Public Works Staffing Plan.
Thank you, trustee. I'm actually going to go up to the podium so I can operate the PowerPoint. All right. Thank you. It's a lengthy slideshow here, but I'm going to try to skim through it for the best of all of our benefit here. As you're all aware, a couple years ago, the police department conducted a staffing study with the consulting firm. And at that point, Kevin, our director, and myself discussed the ability to put forward our own staffing plan for Public Works to help further explain and justify, all of the employees within the department. So, again, this is our 2019 Public Works staffing plan. I'd like to thank a lot of the staff I had helping me with this, including Hannah was able to, help reach out to a lot of surrounding communities to get information. So Tinley Park Public Works includes 3 maintenance divisions: water and sewer, streets, storm, and facilities and fleet. Department staffing numbers are currently 63 full-time employees. We have 17 part-time employees who serve across the divisions in different capacities. There's 12 additional summer seasonal positions offered to college students and are shared amongst the divisions. You got our org chart here, as you can see. Ultimately, we're just under 100 employees overall within the department. For your, acknowledgement, the basics of doing a staffing study, we were coordinating information gathering with individual department superintendents and their foremen. We conducted a survey with multiple public works departments to gather input regarding the best management practices, or BMPs, within their individual ranks and operations. A comparative assessment was utilizing information received from neighboring communities and allocations of staffing within public works. We utilized our current work order system, which is a cartograph program, to reflect upon these numbers. We had a comparative research of utilizing internal staffing, engineering, and project management with consulting firms. We also looked at benchmarking and performance measures within public works, and we analyzed any potential cost savings methods in the end of this study. Our industry standards that you can see across public works departments follow some of these bullet points: population of the community in relation to infrastructure, a ratio of lane miles in comparison to employees needed to maintain them, square footages of facilities in comparison to maintenance employees. The NFMA, which is the National Federation of Municipal Analysts, established a ratio to fleet to mechanics and amount of developed acreage, infrastructure, and needed maintenance employees. These industry standards that all communities utilize to compare their staffing in the public works realm is one maintenance employee per 1,000 population. How many employees each department should have employed. For public works, this number varies based on location with the nation, from 2.43 to 1 employee per 1,000. We did a analysis here based on the last 20 years of public works. The bar graph shows your population increase. Majority of the numbers I was able to receive from Census Bureau, and then any other information I was able to receive based on an average or percentage of increase. The line graph you see is how our staffing followed along in those years. So industry standard with comparable communities. So I reached out to multiple communities, again with my staff's assistance. In a previous payroll study, we had communities that were established as comparable to Tinley Park with population per capita, location similarities. Got a list of communities that we did compare with this analysis. So as you can see in this table, we stated what the current population is of each community, how many maintenance workers in their public works department are in each community, and then we actually took what the difference was per 1,000. So with the industry standard of 1 employee per 1,000, as you can see in the last column, when we brought them all together and created an average or a mean, the typical community is 6 employees under their population numbers. So with the streets and storm department, at this point we started to look into individual departments within and their industry standards and comparables. So the streets division of Tinley Park maintains the following infrastructure with 21 staff members, with 1 superintendent, 2 foremen, and 18 maintenance workers. The larger responsibilities include 397 lane miles of paved surfaces, 424 linear miles of sidewalk, 459 linear miles of curb, 2986 traffic signs, 271 linear miles of storm sewer, and 150 special events annually. Now, if you reflect back on your report, there's 150 special events that we deal directly with the marketing department, but we went back on our work order system, and there's over 200 events that our department needs to sign up for to assist with. Street Department, looking at comparable communities, the benchmark of street maintenance is typically 7 to 10 center lane miles of paved road per laborer. So again, with some of the comparable communities we were able to get information from, you can see what the amount of staff that is within their street department individually in comparison of the center lane miles. Again, looking at the amount that we were able to get an average from, the mean was 8.89 miles of paved surface per staff. Going in the facility maintenance department, we utilize 4 full-time employee staff for day-to-day maintenance. Contracted services are hired for large-scale maintenance or replacements. We have 1 full-time senior custodian and 5 part-time custodians. They also have 2 full-time employees responsible for maintaining the village's 3,800 streetlights and infrastructure. The 31 facilities that Public Works maintains, there's a collectively 185,000 square feet under roof. So the industry standard for facility staffing is typically 1 employee per 50,000 square feet, which is 22% of respondents reported that they outsource the function. For custodians, the median is 28,000 square feet per full-time employee, and 62% outsource that function. So for grounds care, there's also a median of 30,000 acres per full-time employee. So again, with the comparables, we have typically 1 maintenance staff per 50,000 square feet of facilities. With the recent addition of a employee this past year, this department actually meets that comparable by having 1 employee per 46,250 square feet of roof. Fleet maintenance department, this division is responsible for obviously maintaining the fleet. We have 244 vehicles and 144 pieces of equipment. This department consists of a superintendent, a head mechanic, and 3 mechanics staffing this department. The maintenance, fleet maintenance industry standard is, we got from NFMA, which shows at a community of this size, we should have 1 employee per 35 or 1 employee to 60. There's a range depending on the age and condition of the vehicles. So currently, our mechanics is, we have 3 staff per 388 pieces of equipment. So that ratio is actually 1 to 129 in comparable to the recommended 1 to 30 to 60. Water and sanitary department, we maintain 260 miles of water main, 4,045 fire hydrants, 3,280 water main line valves, 2 water pumping stations with 2 storage tanks apiece, 1 elevated tank, and 23,597 large and small diameter water meters. That team consists of 14 staff members, 1 superintendent, and 1 foreman. Sanitary is also under this division. They have 409 miles of sanitary main, 9 sanitary lift stations, 2 stormwater lift stations, and 5,479 manhole structures. Now, this next figure shows only comparables because the combination of water and sewer is not a similarity amongst a lot of communities. They'll typically have a water division and a sanitary sewer division. So with that comparable, there's typically 10 to 12 miles of water main per laborer. I was able to find that Orland Park does combine their staff like Tinley Park does, but out of the other communities, they do have a divided staff that is responsible for strict water main responsibility and then sanitary responsibility. Again, here's comparable on based on the 4 towns we were able to get information from, which shows Tinley Park slightly under the mean of these also. Then our engineering department, we obviously recently implemented internal village engineer position within the department that's responsible for management and oversight, including but not limited to typical engineering tasks, managing public works capital projects, providing oversight to design and construction of all capital improvements within the village of Tinley Park, including roadway, drainage, and bridge projects, water, wastewater, all of the other previous departments that we discussed are also reporting to our engineer before approving projects for construction. The industry standard for engineering within a community is typically 1 full-time equivalent per 1,000 population in relation to infrastructure maintenance staff, the ratio of lane miles and roadway. So there's a handful of industry standards for engineering that we were able to find for this comparable. Right now, Tinley Park has .018 FTEs in their engineering per 1,000 population. As we show in the following slide, the average, again, in comparable communities is .07 per thousand, with Oak Park having the highest staffing level at .17 full-time employees per thousand. So again, we have a handful of communities here that showed how many engineers they had in their population. The mean was .07, with Tinley Park at .02 per thousand. So our engineering project cost savings, which is showing, again, an ability to adjust our staff to actually improve a source of funds versus costing us for engineering. We are able to show here, if we were to increase our engineering team, here's some of the cost savings measures that we're able to keep in-house. One of the large projects right now, if we were to, we propose bringing in a field engineer that would help with the largest project being our pavement management program, potentially would save the village a cost of what we are paying right now is 10% of the project annually, which in the range typically is over $300,000. So along with that project, we've got 8 other projects listed here that we can move to in-house staffing with a possible potential of $450,000 roughly of in-house savings. We've also seen, just in this past year of having our engineer in-house, comparable to what we have paid our outsourced engineer and what he has saved us based on those bills. We are looking at just this past year $200,000 versus savings from when we compared it to our previous bills that we have paid our outside engineer firm. So potentially, if we were to add another field engineer, we could look at a possible of cost savings of over $540,000 annually. So again, this looks at just in the first 6 months of having our engineer on staff with a realized savings of $210,000 based on our comparables in the history. Public Works Clerks Department, we have a split department, obviously with half of the clerks being here at the Village Hall, and we have clerks out at the garage and annex area. We have 7 staff members, 3 full-time clerks and 3 part-time clerks. In addition to that are 5 assigned out at the garage. We have 1 utility billing technician and 1 work order technician, and then 1 part-time work order technician, and also 2 full-time clerks out at the garage. The responsibilities, a long list of responsibilities. Obviously, one of the main things that they deal with is the public that arrive at the Village Hall here, along with everything else I have listed. Our phone usage is the one thing that we are able to record each day, incoming and outgoing. And right now, with the numbers of calls between 5,000 and 5,099, which is the Public Works extensions, we show more than 18% of the 7 extensions going to those locations of the clerk's desks. This chart also does not show the transfer of calls from the clerk's office to Public Works, but that could obviously easily account for an increase in clerical time spent on the phone. So here's a pie graph showing the amount of calls coming into the Village Hall. Again, the clerk's office takes about 47% of the calls in the last year. Community Development took 24%, and Public Works took in 29%. The phone usage on the Public Works team assigned to the Village Hall is further broken down with the following chart showing obviously our full-time clerks taking on a mass quantity of the calls, and surprisingly we have a part-time clerk that is really the one in blue, I believe, that shows his usage comparable to some of our full-time employees. So I'm putting a lot of effort into utilizing answering phone calls from outside citizens and whoever else may call here. So with all of that being said, a quick review of our operational changes that we have recommended from this staffing study is utilization of cost savings from in-house engineering to fund an additional field engineer and additional maintenance technicians. Due to the size and maintenance requirements of the infrastructure and span of control that is currently exceeded, create an additional water department foreman and/or a lead water operator position. Reduction of seasonal 1 positions, which are our summer part-time employees, and create seasonal 2 employees that offset costs and improve productivity. And then utilization of funds from recent elimination of the meter readers. Now that we have our smart readers and our majority of them are radio read, we're looking to offset some of the the savings on not having the meter readers on the street to offset the transfer of a part-time clerk into a full-time clerk. And then an annual increase in staffing were shown as needed by performance measures and ability to meet the departmental maintenance goals. We have again, the summary of the findings, what I just reviewed with you. And then this is a 5-year recommended plan here for staff additions. We put asterisks next to ones that we felt were priority over some of the other recommendations per year. And again, this is just an initial 5-year plan. Based on, looking at industry standards or the mean, we were just trying to find something that would get us closer to where we should be at with the ability to manage, anything that we are dealing with in the industry out here. If you go back to the original chart that shows the population has increased, the size of Tinley Park has increased, and, in comparison to 2007, we're still under the staff that we have seen of that point. The highest that we have had in the last 20 years, I believe, was 41 full-time employees, and we have yet to reach that number of staff, but the town has, exponentially grown in the last 20 years, and staff hasn't grown to meet that. So,
That's from 2007, you said?
yes, sir.
What were we at, 41?
Yeah, if you go back to that original,
What are we at now?
we are in the process of hiring number 39, if I recall correctly. And here's the
Before- 'cause, you
chart
know,
that shows.
Not including what you want to do for this year, just what do we have prior to the budget that we're,
So again, at the mid-year review, that was number 39 that was approved. And again, I believe actually in a chart here, back in 2007, we had 41 employees. So obviously with the, with the crash in 2007, you could see the decrease in employees at that point, and we slowly worked our way back up to where we were at, 13 years ago. Any other questions?
I'm amazed that at 2011, the population that we have, and yet we have such a great decrease of employees.
Yeah, again, it's my understanding that at that point, again, because of the hiring freeze we put on staff at that point to try to offset some of the losses of revenue, and I'm obviously sure Brad can help explain, I think across the board, as far as I understand, we all took kind of a hit on the staffing and was helping from keeping us, either laying personnel off, or that was, what the recommended position was to help from people actually getting laid off, was putting a hiring freeze on. So
Right.
as guys retired, we were,
You just didn't replace them.
exactly.
But how was the village being taken care of then with less people, and all that it had to do?
working harder?
Well, yeah.
Doing more with less.
We shifted to contracting a lot of services out,
Oh, okay.
where we had been at one point, then mowing our acreage, we contracted that out. Snow plowing, the municipal buildings is contracted out now. Contracting the snow removal for cul-de-sacs and the eyebrows,
Okay.
contracted out.
So the village was being taken care of
Oh, yeah.
as well. That was the main thing. The village was taken care of.
Yes, there was some, review of how expenses were handled in-house. As Brad mentioned, contracted services, I believe at that time, we really looked at it and, realizing that a lot of the grass cutting of common areas also was done by staff. So we were able to offset some of that labor by contracting that out to, landscape services versus having a qualified and skilled employee cutting grass.
Right, all right. Well, the report is quite extensive. Nice job.
Thank you.
As I say, John, you and Kevin did a phenomenal job on this. I mean, this was very in-depth of the department as a whole, and I think we spent $30,000 on the police study, and this is very well worth and over $30,000 that you did, so I appreciate all the work that you and Kevin have put into doing this. This was great, and it was nice to see where we're at with staffing and your proposals, your 5-year plan. You and Kevin and your staff have always been great in streamlining and making things very efficient, so I appreciate it.
And again, I just want to give kudos to my staff also, because, the largest part of this was collecting the data, reaching out to the communities, and, as we're all aware, you know, you get some of these questionnaires, it's not the easiest to get the information back. So, you know, again, I had a lot of help from Hannah, I had a lot of help from my administrative assistant, and even my superintendents and foremen helped collect a lot of the data. Just collecting the data was a lot more difficult than compiling it into the report, so I want to give them a lot of kudos for that, too.
No,
Helped out
and
a
you
lot.
look at this number, Bill, you see 39 people for how big of a town we are.
Right.
You see how hard and how much work our public work employees have to do with all these events, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
it's amazing.
And with your 5-year plan, are you taking in the current things that are being built here and you know, expansion of downtown on Oak Park Avenue and all that?
So there's ongoing discussions about staffing for the downtown plaza. You know, we're trying to, you know, work with marketing on evaluating, you know, the possibilities of, you know, looking at either outsourcing that also, or, you know, again, discussions with the possibility of Park District lending assistance with that. Because there are communities with comparable plazas like that that offer different avenues for maintaining, you know, their types of plazas.
Yeah,
So-
Melody Plaza and all the rest. Okay.
Anything you want to add to that staffing study, Kevin?
I'm going to say John worked real hard on it. I just gave him some older files I had to go over when I did a staffing study prep before, and he did most of the work.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Number 4, discuss the contract renewal for smoke dye testing and manhole inspections. John?
All right, so this is a continuation of a project that was bid out last year. We have a requirement for our,
Proposal, not bid.
I'm sorry, yes, sorry. Yes, because it was presented as an RFP. So because of the specialty services, it was released as an RFP. It is again, year 2 of 3, if I recall correctly, of the contract. And we are just looking for the committee and board approval to continue the services under the scope of that RFP.
Fine. Any questions, Bill?
No, I'm good.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can move that to the board. Thanks. John? Number 5, discuss post-3 stormwater station electrical improvements.
Yes, sir. This is a project that was put in the budget for this year. It's improving the control panel and updating the outdated electrical components currently in use at the Post 3 Stormwater Lift Station, which is the one just west of Harlem on 175th Street. And again, this was put in the current budget. We had this go out to bid with 2 contractors that responded. The request is to approve the award for AMS Mechanical Services in the amount of $126,870.
Have you guys ever worked with AMS?
Not that I'm aware of. We actually have Burke here that can probably offer some assistance on experience with them.
I don't have any personal experience, but I think our companies worked with them before, and they did some checks and everything, I think.
Thank you.
And we do have, we did reach out to Burke, you know, as I said, and they offered a letter of recommendation on behalf of AMS.
Perfect. Any questions, Bill?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to move this to the village board.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6, discuss intergovernmental agreement with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of the Greater Chicago, stream bank stabilization.
So this is a interesting project that we have in regards to combining our services with MWRD to help coordinate a stream embankment repair, stabilization, that includes locations between Oak Park Avenue and Scott Court. It has a combination of scopes. The bid was presented initially for MWRD to offer assistance. The quotes came in higher than what the project offered from MWRD. Conversations with them allowed them to offer additional funds towards the project. So we are asking for, again, a governmental agreement with MWRD and to award the low bidder that came in with the bid that was released. MWRD is going to be offering, I got the math back here. MWRD will be offering the project cost less $117,000, which would be the village's share of a bid that is at $984,000. So again, we're asking for the committee and board to approve the village to pay for the project with a reimbursement amount, pay for the project of $984,000 with a reimbursement amount of $866,500. Again, that would put the onus of $117,500 on the village for the extent of this work. This award is recommended to Misfits Construction Company. The low bidder, after bidding, realized the extent of the work and backed out of the work. And I think they were actually unable to meet some of the requirements of MWRD based on their IGA requirements. So again, that was another reason for them to back out. Other than the name of Misfits Construction, we actually, we actually have a location, I believe it was in, it's one of the attachment here, I believe it was in Lockport, that they did a bunch of string bait stabilization. Yes, the city of Lockport, that was awarded an APWA award in this past year for their work out there. So again, they offer, you know, qualified work for this project.
I think they just opened in 2014. They're fairly new. Have you guys, done any work with these guys? I know most of the names, I've never heard of
I've seen them
either of the
before.
top two.
Yeah, I've seen their names on a couple bids. I've never worked with them personally, though. I'm sure that that's with our company, that I know.
Any questions?
Brad, how are you looking at that payment of $117,000?
I'm happy as a clam.
All right,
It's a steal.
This is a big project, and
Right.
MWRD's participation to this level is fantastic. It's a project that we've long overdue.
okay. As long as the Misfits owners aren't Mo, Larry, and Curly, I have no problem.
The name is funny, but they were at the APW awards, and everyone recommended that they were a good contractor to work with. It went very smooth, the project went very smooth, and they had done on time.
Great, thanks, Kevin. So then, I would like to recommend Misfits to the board. Will you, do I have a second for the Misfits?
So ordered for the
All's
Misfits.
in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Please move our agreement with the Misfits Construction to the village board meeting.
At first, Mike, I thought they were talking about us.
Well, they probably were too. Item number 7, discuss support of Will County Department of Transportation's approach for obtaining easements and right-of-way to widen and improve 80th Avenue from 191st to 183rd Street.
Yes, sir.
John?
So this, again, is for the project on 80th Avenue from 183rd to 191, as you stated. Essentially, this is Will County, Will County and Cook County, which is, I understand, Will County is going to be doing most of the work on trying to obtain easements. Pretty much all they're asking from us is agreement that it's okay for them to reach out to these property owners to receive these easements. Again, there's no responsibility on behalf of the village. It's just, again, asking for agreement to our participation and what they are doing to, you know, reach out to achieve the construction easements and the widening of that 80th Avenue.
Any questions?
No questions, glad to do it.
Like to make a motion to move it to the board?
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
One thing, Jen, can you go back on the Misfit one, and with the MWRD, we also gotta move the IGAs.
It didn't get it, was it just a bid award that you requested to move to the board?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
all
gotta
right.
also
Thanks for
say
catching it, yes. Yes, it's a combination request. It's not only the bid award, but it is also the request for the board to approve the
Okay.
IGA with them.
Make a motion to move the IGA agreement to the board.
Second?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Ken.
Number 8, receive comments from the public. Officer King left, so I don't think he has anything to say. I just want to say, you know, this is, since I've got on the board, I've, you know, because with my background in construction, I've always wanted to be on Public Works. And it has been a great year and a half, or not even, it's been 8.5 months as the liaison for Public Works. And this is our last meeting with Kevin Workowski at the Public Works Committee. So I would just like to Thank you for your service, and wish you the best.
Thanks a lot.
Ditto.
He's going to enjoy retirement. God bless you. Officer King, do you have anything you want to add? No, okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn the Public Works Committee.
So moved?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Misfits wins. I couldn't help myself, I had to keep reading myself. I always do that.
Crazy of this. Bobby Rushers, did you see the article in the paper the other day?
Oh, I didn't include, I sent it to them.
Yes, they have to be. He's gonna love jumping on this thing, cause he's gonna need some help.